Hey guys, it's me again. Just thought I'd tell you about this book that I just read. So, Secret of the Runes by Guido von List. As you can see, it's a relatively short book. It's quite thin. It's about 110-ish pages, although the first 20 pages are about the man List, who, I went into this expecting like, oh yeah, he's just gonna be some alt-righty proto-Nazi guy, but really I didn't really get any of that. A lot of people criticize him because a lot of his stuff was taken by the Nazis apparently, but I didn't get that at all. He's kind of like a mystical historian almost. That's the feeling I got from him. He all he does is he loves the Norse mysteries. That's his main shtick, really. Other than that, what are the other criticisms? Some people criticize him as some kind of fraud, but eh, I mean, later on in the book, he goes through some linguistic stuff, which he reaches. I'll admit he reaches pretty far, but I mean, it's good content. This book, for people who don't know, I should just mention, this is like the source or the seed of basically an entire, I don't know, section or an entire group or category of books on runes. People think of runes as just like a divinatory thing that New Agey people do, but the runes in and of itself is like a really mystical system, almost like the Tara. So he basically goes through the runes. He talks about how runes were a script and also, but also they're hieroglyphs that actually mean and represent things. And then he talks about his kind of cosmology, which I think the three axioms is the dyad, the triad, and the multiplicity. So, and he gives them weird names like the, what is it, the bifidic biune dyad and the trifidic triune triad. I'm like, what? I don't know. He has a boner, an intellect boner for like threes, I guess. But anyway, so the dyad is basically spirit and matter. It's the main axiom is everything is spirit and matter at the same time. It's basically a negation or antithesis of Buddhism. Whereas Buddhism say, everything is emptiness. He's he's different. He's basically saying no, not everything is emptiness. Actually, everything is substance, and substance is real. So there's spirit and matter, and they're the same thing. Matter is just as sacred as spirit. They're basically just separated by a vibration or energy or whatever. Yeah, I don't think he uses the word energy or vibration, but that's basically the concept he's alluding to. The triad, he's got this whole kind of Nietzschean eternal recurrence thing. So the triad is arising being, and passing away to a new arising. So, the circle biting its tail, the Ouroboros, is basically the Nordic concept of that. But it's kind of interesting the way he kind of lays it out, though. So he has this whole mysticism of man is in matter and he's trying to head towards the spirit. And so by living your life correctly, when you die, you take spiritual treasure with you. You take your treasures with you, which esoterically, the treasure isn't like physical treasure. The treasure is your experiences. So basically, those born with talent or innate gifts or genius, those people are basically, advanced humans who have been around. They've, this ain't their first rodeo, basically. So that principle of the triad is active, and people who have a lot of spiritual treasure, that's kind of, I don't know, that's kind of what you're aiming towards, although there may be more esoteric stuff. The initiates of the Norse mysteries are called the skalds, the poets. And so exactly what they did or how they lived or what practices they did aren't really alluded to in this book. Well, you could say maybe there's allusions to it, but it's not explicit at all. So there's yeah, that concept, and the multiplicity is basically the multiplicity of existence. The runes themselves then represent the multiplicity in a sense. And then, he goes into Odin and how Odin represents the all as a single being, blah, 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 blah. It's interesting. And then he goes through each of the runes. Yeah. That's that little bit. Yeah. There we go. Is, and there's not, Tyr, and what is that? R, and Sig. And he kind of just gives a brief. He has a bit of the Edda, an excerpt of the Edda, and then he gives a kind of a description of that, and just kind of goes through all the runes. He goes through all the runes within his system. It's weird. You can read the book if you really want to, but that's basically the source of. I don't know if you read other books on this specific type of rune magic. basically all of those books will draw from this. This is the source of all of that stuff. So if you're into that, give it a read. Yeah, that's all I gotta say.